Hello, I'm Hugh Lund. Welcome to the Fruit Park YouTube channel.
One of the very special features of Brisbane, as I remember it, back in the 50s and the 60s, was the tram. One of the great things about the tram was you could always hear it coming, so you didn't miss it because you could hear it coming bang, 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 along the street. It was a very convenient way to travel because you could jump on it and jump off it, and of course it was great for Milton because the tram went along right beside Milton and you could jump off and go into the tennis centre there. So I thought it was a very sad day when we lost our trams at the end of the 60s.
Good morning, my name is Daphne Bankers. I hope you are enjoying watching the Fruit Park YouTube channel.
Well, she was dressed by the great Teddy Tingling, who all of us who were interested in fashion as young girls always are. We always knew about Teddy, and Daphne actually has one of his dresses that she wore at Wimbledon, you know, when she did her win.
At Wimbledon.
When she won at Wimbledon, yes.
Yeah, and she is, as I understand it, she has a couple of hundred underneath the house still up here at Lutteridge. Probably one of the world's largest tennis dress collections, I would think.
Well, that's very interesting, and I'm not sure whether they're all Teddy Tingling's dresses or perhaps there were other dress designers. I mean, what's particularly fascinating to me as a great tennis fan, and I watch the tennis all through the summer, is what they wear nowadays. They are not wearing fashion items. Interesting perhaps, but not, you know, Gorgeous Gussie, who was called Gorgeous Gussie because she had beautiful pants, lovely underwear, which she flashed and showed, and you're allowed to do that then too.
When I was down at the house, I took particular notice of the beautiful photographs on the walls, which people will see in these various YouTubes. And you're right, the attention to detail on the way the dresses were cut was just amazing. Really
I remember a dress, I'm not sure if it was Daphne's or somebody else, which had beautiful scallops.
That was Daphne's, yep.
It was Daphne's.
Yep.
Beautiful scallops around the skirt, and you thought, isn't that lovely? You know, it was a very sort of ladylike game, but they were tough girls and they played hard. And Daphne, of course, talking about her early days, came from the dairy farm, where she had all those brothers and she had to keep up with them, and she played sport with them and she played cricket with them, and of course she's a great golfer now. And I think one of the reasons is that she had a lot of early training in sport.
Yeah, no, she's wonderful. Anyway, I hope everyone enjoys this first YouTube, and thank you very much.
Incredibly busy life, and of course all the sporting people of those days had to work because there was no financial support, so they all had full-time jobs and they played their sport in whatever time they could afford, you know, after that. Daphne, of course, did have a fantastic work ethic. She'd come from the farm, where she was a dairy farm, where she'd milk the cows in the morning and come home after school and worked hard alongside her brothers. But then when she came to Brisbane to further her tennis, yes, she had to get a job, and of course in those days, in jobs, there was no sort of, well, I don't feel like working today and I won't. We all worked pretty hard, I must say, back in the day.
And it does go back. I mean, we're celebrating in this series of YouTubes 100-year history, and we are so incredibly lucky to be able to capture the thoughts at this stage, because we've almost got 50 years which will end up being documented in such great detail, and it is a really great project.
I think it's a fantastic project, and Milton is so important. I think people nowadays don't really understand just how Milton was the centre of tennis, not only in Brisbane, not only in Queensland, but really in Australia. Everybody in Australia, if you said Milton, they knew you were talking about tennis. I think probably the only equivalent now is the Gabba. To talk about the Gabba, people know that exactly the Gabba's right. Cricket and more latterly AFL, but when you said Milton, they knew that was tennis, and all the greats played there, and many of those greats came from Queensland, and we should be very proud indeed of them.
Yes, no, it's a great opportunity. Anyway, with that, we'll move on and hear Daphne. Thank you.
So many personalities and people around, and they were all friends, and they were all very friendly people. You know, we all felt that we knew Rod Laver, he was really one of us. And of course his cousin Brian Laver, still coaching tennis, still living around here, not far from where we are at the moment. But the Laver name was a great tennis name, but there were lots of others. And I think that really, the fact that Milton was such a home of tennis, such a part of tennis, really attracted people to it. And people came there from not only all over Queensland, but from all over Australia.
Yeah, no, as I said, tennis, I think, will get a huge lift out of the 6 courts, the Roy Emerson Tennis Centre that's going to be established on site, and Stefan with the donation of the racket. I mean, just what a great guy, and what a great donation that's going to be. And
it's great having those courts, because when I was Lord Mayor, Hugh Lyon was always nagging me about building suburban tennis courts. It was really sort of odd in Brisbane. There were very few suburban tennis courts that ordinary people could go and play on. You know, the people owned tennis courts, and there was Milton in those days, but that was a bit sort of beyond many people's reach. It was sort of posh and smart and famous, but we just didn't have the ordinary tennis courts that country towns always have. I grew up in Southport. I remember at least 2 lots of local tennis courts. One of the reasons I think that so many of our tennis players, our great tennis players, have come from the bush is because they have tennis courts. So it's really important for children now that we have access to those courts.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And with that, we'll say good morning and hope you enjoy the YouTube. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Good. Thanks, everybody.
And ladies and gentlemen, just to finish off with another little bit of tennis news, of course, later this year we'll have the 6 tennis courts reopening at the old Milton Tennis Centre. We'll have the original Stefan racket back at the front part of the naming section along Milton Road. And of course that will be the Roy Emerson Tennis Centre. That will be named. The overall park there will be Frew Park, named of course after the first president of Queensland Tennis, president for 20 years in Mr. Frew. So look forward to that one towards the end of 2014.